Good afternoon and welcome to Georgetown Visitation. I am Dr. Barbara McGraw-Edmondson, and it is my privilege to serve as the head of school here at Georgetown. Today, we're with you trying to bring a little bit of our campus into your home. You'll have the opportunity to explore all that is Georgetown Visitation through the eyes of some incredible student ambassadors, as well as a panel of school leaders. We encourage you to take advantage of every opportunity to get to know Georgetown Visitation just a little bit more. We, of course, host our Cub for a Day opportunity for our prospective students, our 8th graders, and we've had the joy of having many of them on campus already. So 8th graders, if you haven't done so yet, please register for your Cub for a Day. We also encourage you to take a family tour, to be part of students, what we call our Cub Chats. Here you get a chance to just simply talk to visitation students, know what it's like to be a freshman, know what it's like to be an excited and really sort of top of the heap senior here at Visitation. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to just explore what it would be like for you to be a student if you were here on our campus. Today, you'll get an opportunity not only to listen to and to have questions answered by our student ambassadors and our school leaders, but also to visit different parts of our campus and learn more about our many activities. So I think it's time to get started. And I'd like to introduce you to our principal, Miss Lenore Ponzio, who will be your host for today. Have a great tour. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson, and welcome to all of you joining us from home. Like Dr. Edmondson said, my name is Lenore Ponzio, and I am a 1997 graduate of Georgetown Visitation. I returned in the early 2000s to teach English here before transitioning into the role of Director of Educational Technology. It is my privilege to serve the school now as its principal. As Dr. Edmondson said, today we'll have an opportunity to answer your questions directly from a panel of both student and adult leaders. So I would start by introducing them. Our first panelist is our Academic Dean, Mrs. Sue Foreman.
Welcome to Georgetown Visitation. Prior to this role, I was an English teacher at Visitation, and I'm also a Visitation mom. As Academic Dean, my focus is the success of all students. I monitor student progress and regularly meet with girls to discuss their academic goals and challenges. Each spring, I work with students to plan an appropriate program of studies for the coming year. Parents are also an important part of my responsibility, as I appreciate the partnership that we share with you to grow intellectually mature students who are also happy girls, enjoying a rich and varied high school experience.
Thank you, Mrs. Foreman. Our next panelist is Dean of Student Life, Mrs. Raynetta Jackson-Clay.
Hello and good afternoon. As you can see in my virtual background, I'm sitting in front of our iconic Green Gate. It is one of the entry points in which all students will journey through their time, but especially a passage for all seniors as they exit on graduation day. As stated, I'm the Dean of Student Life, and in this role, I oversee and support our co-curricular departments, which consists of performing arts, student activities, and our athletic programs. Although I tend to wear many hats, my concentration is really in 3 areas: student life, co-curricular access via our financial aid supplement fund, and lastly, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. As a partner in student life, I work alongside student service departments to provide balance and social activity for each student as they become familiar with our co-curricular offerings. Through the co-curricular experience, I am part of a team who will help students achieve balance in their daily life outside of the classroom. Over a period of 4 years, our goal is to enrich their co-curricular experiences through leadership, spiritual growth, community engagement through service for others, and of course, a healthy amount of social opportunities. I also coordinate our financial aid supplement fund. The fund supports and balances the student needs and experiences in areas where finances might be an extra challenge for families. The fund was created several years ago to provide our families with financial access to all social and academic experiences on and off campus. While all families receiving financial aid can request support from the fund throughout the year, the fund is not just exclusive to families receiving financial aid. All families can benefit and request assistance at any time, with over $100,000 each year to assist students, for example, with books, lunch, uniforms, tutoring services, travel, graduation expenses, prom and exam fees. The fund continues to provide access and equity throughout a student's academic experience. Lastly, I'm also the co-coordinator of our diversity and inclusion programs. As a diversity practitioner, it's my goal to partner with students and parents to put in place best strategies and workshops around issues of inclusion and belonging. We have student, faculty, and parent groups actively engaged in dialogue and action throughout the year. This provides us with a backdrop of themes which speak to the heart and mind of who we are. Oh, and what I love best about visitation is, of course, the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay. And without further ado, the people you really want to hear from are students. Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I'm a senior here at Georgetown Visitation, and I am currently in an English classroom. This classroom I had English in sophomore year with Miss Veith. I took regular English too, so this is the classroom that I spent every day in. And my favorite part of being a visitation student is that our school comes together throughout all our different clubs and activities.
Thank you, Sophia. Our next senior leader is Emily.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily. I'm also a senior here at Visitation. I'm currently part of the Visi Orchestra in Aerospace Engineering, and I'm currently in the Innovation Lab where the 3D printers are housed. My favorite part about Visitation is my special relationship with my friends and my teachers.
Thank you, Emily. And last but certainly not least is Mavis.
Hi, my name is Mavis, and here at Visitation, I play tennis and softball. Today, I'm here in the Fisher Center, also known as the gym. And one of my favorite things here at Georgetown Visitation definitely has to be the traditions that we do.
So thank you in advance to all of our panelists. I'm going to walk everyone through a couple of logistics before we send some questions back over to our students. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button in the center bottom of your screen. And any questions that we don't get to during our program will be sent over to our admissions team, who will send you an email with a direct answer to your question. So we're going to start by heading back to Mavis and ask her to talk a little bit about what it's like to balance schoolwork, co-curriculars, friends, and family as a student here at Visitation.
Great question. And the best answer to that is definitely mastering time management. Not only mastering it, but working towards it. When I came to Visitation, was just coming from a small middle school to a little bit bigger high school, and I knew that I would need to be able to manage my time with homework, school, and family and friends. But the visitation schedule definitely helps me get through the school day and make sure my homework is done in time. Starting as a freshman, we have, I think it's about 5 to 6 free periods that rotate throughout our schedule. And then as you move up in the grades, your free periods become more frequent and you receive a lot more. And now as a senior, I have a rotating free throughout my day, so I can spend that time in the library, doing some extra homework, spending time with some friends, or just meeting up with a teacher. So there's definitely time to get your homework done and balance the things you have to do with our schedule.
Thank you, Mavis. The next question will be for Sophia. And Sophia, so many of our applicants come from currently co-ed middle or elementary schools. So can you talk a little bit about why Visitation as an all-girls school was appealing to you and some of the advantages that you've experienced over the course of your 4 years here?
Yeah, so I went to a co-ed elementary and middle school as well. So I was in co-ed from K through 8th grade. And when I first shadowed Visitation, I was unsure of what that all-girls environment was going to be like. But by the end of the day for my Come for a Day visit, I totally forgot that I was at an all-girls school. You don't really think about it in a sense when you're here, just because of like the community and like all the good friends that you have here. So my favorite part about being at an all girls school is the sisterhood that comes with it and how tight the community is here. And besides just like having a tight community here, learning in a classroom is like less pressured in an all girls school, in my opinion, as well as the fact that I'm not scared to ask questions. I'm not scared to be a club leader. I'm not scared to go in and ask my teacher for extra help during lunch just because the community here, basically.
Thank you, Sophia. Emily, this next question is for you. As you begin your senior year here at Visitation, how can you see the community as helping you grow and be prepared for your next adventure beyond the Green Gate?
Visitation has definitely prepared me in terms of not only academics, but also in confidence. In terms of academics, all of the classes offered here at Visitation are college preparatory classes, and Visi also hosts a variety of honors and AP classes. In terms of confidence, I would say that Visitation has definitely helped me transform into an 8th grader to a confident young woman. As a freshman here on my first day of school, I remember I was sort of too afraid to ask my teachers any questions. But now as a senior here, I have no trouble reaching out to my fellow classmates or my teachers for any extra help or questions I have.
Thanks, Emily. I'm going to ask Mrs. Foreman to come on the line now and address some questions that we're getting about the freshman curriculum specifically, what it looks like, if there are any electives, and then what a typical day looks like for a freshman. Mrs. Foreman?
So our freshmen take 7 academic classes, religion, English, global patterns, math by placement exam, and there are a number of classes that freshmen could be taking. They take a course in physics, conceptual physics. We've got a great program called Physics First. They take French or Spanish, and again, that would be by placement. We have an elective system where students are, a trimester system rather, where students are taking a trimester of the history of art, technology, and PE and wellness. Students then are able to progress in future years to honors and AP classes within those courses. And Mrs. Ponzio, would you mind repeating the second part of what you asked me?
Just what a typical day would look like for the freshmen. I know Mavis talked a little bit about our free periods and rotating and tumbling, but giving us an idea of what a day would look like for someone who's joining our community.
Mavis mentioned the schedule, and she mentioned time management. I would say those two things go hand in hand, because freshmen, for the first time in most of their lives, actually have free time where they get to decide where they want to be and doing what they want to do. So a typical day is 6 50-minute periods. We don't have more than 2 classes in a row, so we have morning break and cub period after your first 2 classes. Morning break is a time to refuel, see your friends, see teachers. Cub period is a time for possibly an assembly, a class meeting, a club, or free time. 2 more periods, then 2 lunch periods, and then 2 periods to end the day. So most freshmen will have 5 or 6 frees in the course of a 7-day cycle. So you'll have a day or 2 where you have no frees and have to be really efficient with morning break and second lunch. And you'll have other days where you might have a free or so. So girls learn to think about a 7-day cycle, and they learn to think about, if it's day 1, this is what my day looks like, and this is how I have to prepare. Girls love the tumbling part of our schedule because there's no such thing as a first period class. So if you are a morning person, every class that you have is going to be first period 1 day in the 7-day cycle.
Thank you, Mrs. Foreman. A similar question to our curriculum is a question about homework. So before I send it over to Emily to answer specifically from her own experience, I do want to remind everyone that at Visitation, all of our teachers work under the expectations and guidelines that there's no more than 30 minutes of homework per night in each of their classes. In terms of major assessments and major assignments, teachers plan ahead and give students time not only during class, but over the course of several days to work on assignments, to build their skills, to get feedback, and then to turn in their best work on every assignment. Emily, do you want to talk a little bit more about homework?
Yes, of course. So on average, I would say that I have about 2 to 3 hours of homework each night. And in terms of big assessments or papers, your teacher doesn't expect you to finish that all in one sitting or in one night. They will give you a couple of days or at least a week in advance and will tell you. From personal experience, I can say that I may have procrastinated a little bit and maybe finished it a day before when I wasn't supposed to. And Of course, it didn't turn out very well, but I, of course, learned from that lesson. So in terms of time management, Visi really builds you in that aspect. Also sorry, I'm blanking out, pardon me.
That's okay.
Ms. Ponzio, could you continue?
No, that's no problem, Emily. The next question is similar to homework, but it's more about how we use our devices for homework. So before I send it over to Mavis to talk about our iPad program, I'll just give a little bit of context. At Visitation, we are a one-to-one iPad program. So upon enrolling at our school, you will have the choice between 2 iPads that are your personal devices, but that are supervised by the school so that we can share the apps that you're going to need over the course of your 4 years. The iPads are used differently by different teachers. And so I'm going to ask Mavis to talk about how she uses her iPad for her classes.
Absolutely. Having an iPad integrated into our curriculum has been very, very helpful. We're able to, research things during class, collaborate with other students. And last year, when we were partially online during coronavirus, we used our iPads to be able to continue to learn. So I'm very grateful that we had them during that time. In some classes, teachers do not prefer using iPads. They, want to take it back and keep it old-fashioned with the paper and pencil, but a majority of my classes like to use the iPads, again, for collaborative work and just enriching our learning experience.
Thank you, Mavis. Before I send it to Sophia to talk a little bit about our Catholic faith, I want to talk a little bit about our sisters. We are Georgetown Visitation, and we are sponsored by the Order of the Sisters of the Visitation. While the sisters no longer teach in our classrooms anymore, it is their charism and their love of this community that drives us every day. We start and end our day with Salesian prayers. And what does Salesian mean? We're a Catholic school in the Salesian tradition. And what that means is St. Francis de Sales and St. Jane de Chantal in the early 1600s came together and established the Order of the Visitation. And that's what we try to do every day, be who we are and be that well. And every month there is a little virtue, and we celebrate each other by honoring the ways we live our lives and honor each other through the little virtues. Sophia, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I think be who you are and be that well, I just think about all the opportunities that Visitation gives me to be able to find out what I like, what my interests are, and just like who I am. Coming into Visitation, I didn't really know what subjects I liked, what my academic interests were, but I was able to discover that through my different classes and my different electives, as well as joining different clubs that I never thought I was going to join. I am currently president of Special Olympics Club and American Sign Language Club. And if you would have asked me even like 2 years ago, sophomore year, if I thought I was going to be doing that, I would have said no, because I didn't know that that was going to be something I liked to do. And then I just joined, and it turned out that it was something I really liked. So I think when it comes to Salesian spirituality, it goes more than just our daily religion class and more than our monthly or school mass. It's more of just the way that Visitation as a school helps you find out what you're passionate about.
Thank you, Sophia. Again, if you're joining us now, please use the button at the bottom center of your screen labeled Q&A to ask any questions that you'd like our panel to address. Our next question is more about Christian service. So before I throw it over to Mrs. Clay, we at Visitation have an 80-hour Christian service requirement as a part of our graduation requirements. That said, 95% of our students go well beyond the 80 hours. So I'm going to invite Ms. Clay to talk about some of the Christian service opportunities that we offer locally, nationally, and even internationally. Mrs. Clay?
Thank you so much. So I believe Principal Ponzio pretty much spoke on the fact that we require our students to do 80 hours of Christian service. Many of our students will go beyond the 80-hour requirement. With our program within the service community, we offer local programs for our students to take part of in the Washington, D.C. area. We also offer trips abroad as well as trips domestically for our students. We have an annual trip that will go to the South Dakota reservation and immerse with most of the people there and work in the classrooms and basically teach the communities. We were trying to offer a border program last year, but of course, during the pandemic, we had to put a lot of our travel on hold. So this year, we are opening it back up to have our language immersion trips hopefully take flight, as well as some of the other domestic trips that we are used to hosting. We also have a myriad of field trips that students can really partake in and learn a little bit more about the city in which they'd like to serve in. And so with that, it is a wonderful opportunity for our students to really stretch themselves and be a little more flexible about the people who are outside of the gates. As they're learning, we are learning as well. Many of these opportunities come to us through parents, but also through community organizations, which will visit the campus and give a little bit of verbiage and language, as well as description as to what their needs are. Each year, we host canned food drives for our students so that they can participate in some of the, the soup kitchens, some of the areas around in this particular location, so that other people will be able to eat during Thanksgiving. That is a wonderful opportunity for us to participate in, as well as our students learning what it is to be a servant of God.
Thank you, Mrs. Clegg. There's a question that's come in about what makes visitation unique. And so I'm going to send it back to all three of our seniors one at a time to talk about what your favorite visitation tradition is. Sophia, let's start with you.
So my favorite tradition is marshmallow roast, which we had this past Thursday, actually. So marshmallow roast happens after Founders Day. Founders Day was on Thursday, and on Founders Day, we basically just do community activities. We have speakers, we have mass, we played long games with the teachers. It was just a day to remember our founders and a bonding experience. But then that night, marshmallow roast is the big event. Basically for marshmallow roast, all of the grades pick a theme and they put in so much work and time, sometimes 6 months in advance, to prepare a skit to roast the teachers. So the senior theme this year was visitation, which is like a family vacation type of thing. And we dressed up as teachers. We are in costumes and we have signs that say each teacher that we are, and we just roast the teachers and we basically pretend to act like them is what we do.
Thanks, Sophia. It is a great night, and we teachers know it's all in good fun. And she didn't mention, however, that the senior class was awarded the championship this year. So congratulations to our seniors. Mavis, what about your favorite visitation traditions?
Besides marshmallow roast being top of that list, gold white, I think, that holds number one for me. If you guys don't know what gold white is, when you come in as a freshman here at Georgetown Visitation, you're either placed on the gold team or the white team, unless you have prior legacy, as in a sister, a mother, grandmother, aunt, someone that has been on the team previous to you. You would follow their legacy of being on that team. Personally, I'm on the gold team. And during gold white, we have it in the fall and we have it in the winter, each spanning over a week time. And in the fall, we have a field hockey game, and there's canning involved. So gold team and white team compete to collect as many cans as they can. We stand outside of grocery stores and ask people to donate. And at the end of the week, the cans are counted and we see which team wins, and they receive a point that can be awarded towards winning the banner at the end of the year. But these cans are donated to food shelters across the DMV area. And besides canning and the sports games that we play, there's also a cheer team. No need of prior dance experience to try out or join the cheer team. So that's also a great experience. And then we also hand paint sweatshirts. We create our costumes for either team. And it's just a great spirit week that we have here at Visitation.
Thank you, Mavis. Emily, what about you?
I would have to say that my favorite tradition is junior ring ceremony. The ceremony itself is just beautiful, and it provides an experience where we really bond together over our sisterhood, or we say visterhood. And the ring itself symbolizes how our bond travels throughout our entire lives and not just stops here at Visitation.
Thank you, seniors. I think you've really given an insight into what life is like for students. But what I'd like to ask you now is your relationship with your teachers. How have you come to be the best student you can be by working with some of our faculty members? Sophia, let's start with you.
So thinking back to my freshman year, every time before a math test, I would be in that teacher's classroom the day before during lunch, just going over the study guide, going over the practice test, and just asking questions. And that's something I did freshman year, and that's something I still do to this day. Last week, I had a AP statistics quiz, and I went in during lunch with a friend to go and ask the teacher questions right before the quiz. So I would say that's what my relationship is like with teachers, just never being afraid to help, and also always knowing that they're always ready to help. I can just show up without emailing in advance, or I can email to coordinate a specific time to meet during lunch, before school, after school, or a free period.
Thanks, Sophia. Mavis and Emily, what about you guys? What was it about visitation that drew you here? Why were we the place you decided to choose for your high school experience? Mavis?
Great question. So at first, I wasn't really sure about attending an all-girls school, but when I came for my Cupford Day visit, I truly saw how just being an all-girls school does not separate this school from other co-ed schools in the area. But it was the academics that made Georgetown Visitation stand out on top. In each class, students are not afraid to raise their hand, not afraid to speak up about what they want to say, and the teachers are there to support us in our academic learning. So I knew I wanted to be in an environment that stressed academic excellence, and I knew this is where I would be able to grow and, cultivate my learning experience.
Thank you, Mavis. Emily, what about you?
So I was really interested in politics and political science, and I believe that there is no better way to immerse yourself in that than being in the nation's capital. Being in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. really drew me to visitation. Also, Visi is right next to Georgetown University, so visitation offers a bridge program to that, and that really drew me in.
Thank you, Emily. So we're getting right close to 2:30, and I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to visit some of the other rooms available during today's virtual open house. So we're going to add to the chat right now the link to our open house hub, where you'll be able to join some of the other departments and some of the other programs to ask some more specific questions and get to know a little bit more about our community. Again, if we didn't get to any of your questions, we will record them and pass them along to our admissions team, who will email you directly. I want to thank all of our panelists, Dr. Edmondson, Mrs. Foreman, Mrs. Clay, Sophia, Emily, and Mavis for joining us this afternoon, but particularly to you at home. Thank you for joining us. Reach out with any questions you have, and have a great afternoon.